Hooker is on the move. He's got the visa. He's got the contract. He doesn't have COVID. He's going to make it. Dan Hooker is now taking on, and was taking on, Afghanistan and Germany's own Nasrat Haqparast. And Matt, we talk about uber prospects in MMA. For Nasrat Haqparast, yes, he's had some stumbling blocks. Yes, he had a fight against Marcin Held that didn't go his way. A lot of people have. Straight up. Natan Schultz, former two-time champ with the PFL, he couldn't even beat him this year. So if you look at it, Haqparast loses that tough challenge, but then he builds himself back up. UFC Moncton in our own neck of the woods, Moncton, New Brunswick, Canada, looks amazing in his fight there. Now, that was against Thibaut Goudy, and that was almost 3 years ago, but it was still great. Has a stumbling block against the Southpaw Drew Dober, bit of a surprise there. Beats the team alpha male coach Alex Munoz, beats Rafa Garcia, looks very good with the boxing combinations and the fluidity in that fight. Now he's going to be taking on Dan Hooker, whose last two losses are, and this is not a test or a lie, Michael Chandler, and before that, Dustin Poirier. Hooker's taken on top guys at 145 and 155 for the longest time. Now it's okay. Hooker goes from fighting the top 5 to reaching outside of the top 15. Nasrat Haqparast gets yet another opportunity to scratch the surface and really reach that full potential that we've expected out of him. Now, in the particulars, Dan Hooker's had one hell of a time to get to the States for this fight. Nasrat Haqparast has had different camps, right? Because he trained at UFD in the past. He trained at TriStar in Canada. Now, because I saw it in Uros Medic's pictures, and I did make a mistake. It wasn't Kelvin Gastelum. He's training at King's MMA, and I was really interested to see that. He also lost his mother in the last couple of weeks to cancer, so obviously thoughts and prayers are with Nasrat Haqparast, not just for losing his mom to cancer, which I'm sure a lot of you have had family members, as we have, who passed away due to cancer, so the thoughts are with him. But again, the unrest that has gone on in Afghanistan as well, so we just want to kind of throw our condolences and sympathies out to him. He's probably not one of the fighters, and there's some of them that watch these videos, but still, you hate to see that for a guy. But as far as a fight's concerned, we had this circled as a possible fight of the night because these guys are bangers and they'll throw down.
This is going to result in fireworks. I am fairly certain about that because for Dan Hooker, we've really only seen him struggle against superior strikers. And I know that's kind of a hard thing to even find out there, a superior striker to Dan Hooker, because Dan Hooker is what we talk about when we talk about a long-range striker. He's massive for this weight division. And again, I feel like we have to say this about every fighter who's moved up in weight and then still looks big. How did Dan Hooker ever weigh 145 pounds? Like, he's 6'1" and he's pretty shredded. It's just, that was a wild weight cut for him to ever make. And you could feel that at 145, A, he didn't have the gas tank because most of his camp was just dedicated to losing weight, not really working on his skills. And B, the durability you did worry about. Now, he didn't have any knockout losses down at 145 pounds, but look at the Yair Rodriguez fight, for instance. Yair Rodriguez lands like, I don't even know how to describe it, like a turning jump moonsault kick, and it hurts Dan Hooker. It does. Now, if you fight Yair Rodriguez, you're probably going to get hurt by a kick. It's happened a lot before. It's going to happen again in the future. But Dan Hooker, against other primary strikers, normally has a field day. If he can keep you at the outset of his reach, like he did to Ally Quintus, he basically can just have his way with you. He can kick your leg. He can jab your body with his hand, but also with his kicks. And we know his jabs and right straights are phenomenal. The problem with Dan Hooker, though, is when guys start to mix in the wrestling, it can start to leave some question marks in his head. We talked about Karl Roberson earlier on in the card about a fighter who can almost get into his own head. He's so good at striking that he knows his opponent wants to take him down, so then he becomes a little bit hesitant. Dan Hooker doesn't really have that problem. He more just meets his opponent's takedown attempts with strikes. He's got great knees coming up the middle. He has a highlight reel absolutely full of them. He has great elbows, too. And the thing about Dan Hooker is, I don't know if he has good cardio or bad cardio. This is kind of the open-ended question where I switch it on back to you, because Dan Hooker has great output. I know that for a fact, but look at his 2 5-round fights in the UFC. I know this isn't a 5-round fight, but still, you have to kind of take what you can from those. Against Paul Felder, he's a great striker for 3 rounds, then he gets tired, becomes a wrestler. Against Dustin Poirier, he's a really good striker for 2 rounds, starts to get tired, becomes a wrestler. And Dustin Poirier is a pretty good grappler. I don't know if you've heard about that. So it's not normally his best course of action. So I don't know if for Dan Hooker, if it's he gets so tired that the fight IQ starts to go out the window, or he gets so tired that he figures, okay, I know my opponent's going to try to take me down. What's the best way to know that my opponent can't shoot for a takedown? If I'm on top of them. So for Dan Hooker, I have a few fight IQ question marks, but I think as a whole, he has better striking than Nasrat Haqparast.
None of those things matter in this fight because if Nasrat Haqparast shoots for a takedown, I'll shoot the Poirier's hot sauce. It's not going to happen. You're going to have changes, though, when you are training out of Kings, and that's going to be aggressiveness with your striking. Now, it cost Haqparast against Drew Dober. What could it do in this fight? Because for Haqparast, you know him to be that high stance, good blocking boxer, not a lot of kicks out of him. Now, we talk about the meanness of striking, and I'm going to talk about it the further on that I go up this card, but when guys go to Kings, like Naaman Gracie, he had that mean streak in him this weekend.
Oh my God.
Mark Lemminger is a good fighter. And Mark Lemminger is a good striker. Naaman Gracie looked like not a Gracie. He looked amazing. He was mean. He just moved forward and beat the crap out of him like Brian Ortega did against Korean Zombie. Maybe that's what we get out of Haqparast. I just wonder a little bit about some things. And with Haqparast, when all of your power comes from your boxing stance and your boxing, when Dan Hooker's kicking your legs, that's where it really plays into effect. Again, it is a 3-round fight, so cardio I don't see as being a huge issue, but we'll see again. The anxiety and the nervousness of trying to get out of New Zealand, that's not a joke. I laugh, but that's serious. So we'll see how that plays in. The odds for this one, Hooker open to -150, still -150, -155 for Haqparast. Open to 130, still about a 130, Matt. We haven't seen the Tapology votes. The bigger name here is Hooker, who's main evented shows before. If we're going over-under Tapology votes, I'm saying 75%. You think it's over-under for
I was
Hooker?
just about to say I think it's about 70-30 Hooker, so I guess I'll go slightly under because he got knocked out in his last fight and that was on a big card.
All right. 83% Dan Hooker out of 984 total votes. Wow. 38% by decision. 55% by knockout. For the 17% that have Haqparast, 51% by decision. 39% by knockout. Matt, Fight Night Picks have one of the biggest contingencies of Nasrat Haqparast fans out there. So what can you say that's going to incense them? It's going to get them all excited about this fight against Dan Hooker because Chandler had a lot of success with his boxing.
The difference, though, is Chandler is one of the best grapplers in the UFC. So when he's ducking and throwing overhands, you really have to respect the initial takedown attempt from a guy like Michael Chandler. Against Nasrat Haqparast, he's a decent wrestler, don't get me wrong. He has at least shown it in a few of his fights where he can go out there and get an offensive takedown. It's not like it's not something in his repertoire. The issue is, I don't think Haqparast can wrestle with Dan Hooker at all. Like, Dan Hooker, his reactions to takedown attempts are basically second to none. Haqparast, is already the much shorter fighter in this fight, so the knees of Dan Hooker are going to have a much easier time making their way from point A to point B against a guy like Nasrat Haqparast. So if he is finding himself ducking to try to get into the range, and I don't always mean that with a takedown attempt, let me at least clarify that. When Nasrat Haqparast ducks, he does it in a way that is very susceptible of getting hit by a guy like Dan Hooker.
Like a Darren Till.
Kind of. It's just, he likes to get his way into the pocket that way, and it is really good, but when you fade on the outside and you don't have kicks, then you are kind of jumping your way into the pocket a lot. And in boxing, there's a saying, jump in, get carried out. I think that's what's going to happen. I think Haqparast is going to walk into a big shot from Dan Hooker, and Dan Hooker will finally get his place. Maybe he's not a top 5 fighter like he's been billed as the last couple of years, but I still think Dan Hooker can have a lot of fun fights with guys in the top 10 of this division.
Matt, I can't wait for this fight, but I'm in agreement as well. I got Dan Hooker in this fight because, again, I think the kicks are going to be huge. Kicker. Get it? Ooh. Fight Night Picks. Matt, I love this fight, but again, for Haqparast, you can't kind of bill him as a prospect anymore because he's had so many fights and he's fought some of the higher level guys. But at the same time, I would have liked to have seen that original matchup that he had back in the spring against Don Madge, where we would have learned a lot more. How's his takedown defense? Because he could strike, and Madge would have been the perfect litmus test there, but I really have to go with Dan Hooker. I know he's lost to Poirier in a knock-him-out, drag-him-out fight, and he did get knocked out by Chandler and then had to hang around Fight Island for a while, which was sad to see. But yeah, I do like Hooker with all of the weapons that he possesses. If he can bring it all together in this fight, I think he has a great opportunity here.
It just would have been nice to see Haqparast in there with Drew Dober a little bit longer, because we didn't really learn that much about that fight. I know Drew Dober hits hard. He won by knockout fairly early on. It would have been nice if that fight did go into the third round, where we did know a little bit more about Haqparast against the upper echelon guys. I know Dan Hooker doesn't always beat top 5 guys, but at least he's been in there with them, and I think that experience is huge.
Both of us going with New Zealand's own Dan Hooker to get the win. Let us know down below in the comments section who you have, and I know there's a lot of people out there that have Afghan roots that absolutely love Haqparast, We want to hear from you as well. A great card, and up at the top, 2 title fights, Volkanovski, Ortega, Shevchenko, Murphy. You're not going to want to miss this. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. As we always say, let's get into it.